Hi there, I'm Penny Pausha of Instincts at Work, and I was really compelled to start a conversation with a couple of amazing leaders that I have with me today. I do leadership coaching work, and I had the pleasure to encounter Melissa Weber and Natalie Gilson of Pisces. And they have an amazing story to tell about the impact that they're having through their business leadership. And I was in a wonderful position to help support them. As I saw their growth and development, I really thought it was a wonderful opportunity for us to all get together and discuss a little bit of the angles of understanding about coaching support, about how their development led to their success, and talk a little bit about an award they've just recently won. I'm really excited to bring that to you and for us to explore some of these topics today around coaching, development, women leaders, co-CEO leadership, and how working on your own leadership and developing yourself relates directly to sort of how your business evolves and how successful it can be. So welcome, Melissa and Natalie from Pisces. So great to have you today. I wanted to start off, if you could start with kind of your story a little bit, and maybe in that introduce yourself and just talk a little bit about your background. But Melissa, can you start us off with sort of the starting story of how you came to be at Pisces and taking on the co-CEO role with Natalie?
Yeah, absolutely. I think our journey to becoming co-CEOs is a little unconventional. And for me, my journey with Pisces started during COVID. I was finishing my PhD at the University of Ottawa, and in a time of global change or unrest, I was also wondering what was next for me. And during that time, I found Pisces and I started working there. So I had been working at Pisces since 2021, um, through many life changes. One of them was having my daughter, which during that time Natalie joined the team. A few years later, we found ourselves with this immense opportunity to take over the leadership of Pisces together. And so, as I said, unconventional, but here we are.
Amazing. That's great. It sounds like you were really exploring and there was a lot of changes going on at the time. Can you tell us a little bit about what Pisces is all about?
Yeah, absolutely. So Pisces is an ocean project consultancy, and we're dedicated to eliminating the barriers that hold ocean projects back.
Amazing. So it's an ocean focused consultancy. And that's part of, yeah, that's part of what you do and how you contribute your research skills to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, amazing. Natalie, tell us a little bit about you and your journey and into co-CEO role and your talents and how you're contributing those to Pisces.
Sure, definitely. So, yeah, another unconventional story. Mine is very wiggly to how we got here. It's definitely not a linear
Isn't it
journey.
always? Our
It
journeys are
always
wiggly.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the best kind of journeys. You pick up so many skills and different ideas and ways of doing things along the way. Anyway, as Melissa said, yes, I joined Pisces a couple years ago in 2023. It was sort of a random occurrence for me, a random opportunity from a conversation with the founder of Pisces. I didn't expect to get a job in that call that I had with her, but I did. But prior to working at Pisces, I owned a creative studio for just about 8 years, which is where we met, Penny. But
Yes.
yeah, I ran that for those 7 or 8 years, and during that time I really fell in love with creative strategy, communications work, branding, brand design. But I did all that work for years, but something never quite clicked for me. I loved the clients and some of the projects that I did, but there was always something missing. And much like Melissa and her change during COVID, I also had an immensely challenging time during COVID. I think we all did. And part of what happened for me was I realized that it was time for me to make a change in my business, to kind of find that thing that would connect me, that purpose, the passion. And I've always very, very, very much loved the ocean. Like, back to my earliest memory, the ocean has been there for me, but I always thought I needed to be a marine biologist. I needed to be a scientist or a fisher or whatever to work with the ocean. It never occurred to me that there were these other opportunities in the ocean sector. So anyways, during COVID, when I was looking for this change, I was like, I wonder if there's space for creative people, communicators in the global ocean industry. And it turned out there was actually almost nobody doing that kind of work at all. So I sort of took a leap and started saying, this is what I'm doing. This is the direction I want to go. I'm now a communicator for the oceans and ocean storyteller. And people picked up on it really, really fast. So there's a very big need for that. And that's what led me to the founder of Pisces and to taking on a job at Pisces. And I've been so happy to be able to grow this communication side of Pisces since then. And what I absolutely love about what we're doing now at Pisces is that Melissa and I have such different backgrounds and such different skill sets, yet we're able to bring them together to just help ocean projects succeed in a way that nobody else can.
That's amazing. That's a big theme in our story together, is about harnessing your diversity. So I love some of the themes are around like both of your passion for the work, how your sense of purpose led you into this, and how the opportunity arose, and then being able to harness your diversity to actually kind of create something. That's what I love about your story and what I really wanted to share with everybody who's listening. And I'll put a plug in if you really like Instincts That Works branding and stuff. It's all thanks to Natalie, because she worked with me doing marketing prior to getting into this role. So that's helped give us a lift too. So let me ask you a little bit about that topic of the diversity. So what was your biggest leadership challenge as your business grew, and how did you navigate it? So what did you notice about, since you mentioned it, Natalie, about the diversity, what were some of the challenges that came up related to that as you and Melissa moved into those co-CEO roles and you were trying to figure out, okay, how do we direct this? Tell us a little bit about what you discovered, what you learned, what were some of the pressure points?
Yeah, I mean, we are very lucky, Melissa and I, because we worked so closely together for a couple of years before taking over leadership. So I think we didn't go into this completely blind to each other's ways of working and ways of doing things, but it's certainly been a journey to kind of figure out how we optimize it as leaders and how we move from this mindset of, when I ran my other company, it was just me, so I did everything, to this mindset of, no, there's two of us and we're good at different things and we need to figure out what those things are and trust each other to do those things and clarify what those things are. I think that was the biggest challenge, is that, we're both big go-getters and kind of were like ready to jump in and do anything at any point in time, but we shouldn't both be jumping in and doing all the things all the time. One of our biggest realizations and biggest, sort of things that helped us kind of figure this out was realizing that companies really thrive on this idea of having a visionary and an integrator or an implementer. So somebody who comes up with the big ideas and somebody who makes them happen. And that's amazingly what we just naturally kind of have. So we're very lucky in that sense. We're not missing a big piece of the puzzle. We've just spent the year kind of trying to figure out how to tweak it and make sure it works and make sure we're not doubling efforts or stepping on each other's toes and that kind of thing.
Yeah, amazing. So understanding kind of that diversity and how to harness it and really kind of getting some clarity about your roles was an important shift in terms of the challenge, that you were facing initially, about how do we best take on the leadership here together. Melissa, is there anything else from that? Do you have any comments about, or what was your experience?
Yeah, I mean, I think our biggest challenge quickly became our biggest strength. And, we have each other to lean on, which is really, really powerful. Honestly, if you're a founder or a CEO, it's just you. All the weight is on your shoulder, but we can distribute the weight across both of us. And the fact that we are naturally this visionary implementer duo, it's really powerful.
So you've really seen the power of being able to harness those differences. Yeah,
for sure.
And so I'm wondering how the coaching really helped you understand that, because what I'll say is, if I can throw in that piece a little bit, when we started working together, you guys weren't quite there yet. Like, you weren't there actually at all. You'd worked together, but what I observed when I came in to work with you is that it was almost like you were setting up side by side consultancies. And I think what's really important to say about that is that I think a lot of other women business leaders who may be listening to this struggle with the idea that, they want to work in a team or they maybe want to work in partnership, but conflicts come up that are normal and natural. And I think a really important part of this story is how do you turn the conflict, as you talked about, Melissa, into an opportunity? And I think that like understanding that little transition or that cycle would be really valuable, because there's so many people who are maybe avoiding that conflict or thinking, I don't know if this is the right fit for me to work with this person, and they're feeling some of that strain. Maybe can you comment a little bit about your understanding of that and how the coaching maybe helped you shift with that a bit?
Yeah, I think coaching really gave us the foundation to have not only have conversations about this, like about our not necessarily conflict in the sense of like how we typically think about it, but potential conflicts or differences in instincts. And I think what the coaching did was first give us that foundation to talk about them in a sort of safe space, but also it gave us a lot of information to process and understand why things are happening the way they are. Like, for example, Colby is a huge one, like understanding the differences between our Colbys and the differences between our instincts and why we have different opinions or different ways of thinking
Approaches.
about
Yeah.
things. And
Yeah.
so I think that was really, really paramount in us sort of moving forward and establishing our strengths together.
Yeah. Just so that people listening, I'm going to just jump in there with a little bit of an example, if I may, with that. So for you, Melissa, you're very detail oriented, very precise as a researcher, as a PhD, as somebody who goes in depth, and that's something that's needed in Pisces. You ground a lot of the research basis, and that's what you're needed for. And then Natalie, in that visionary role, Natalie, your strength is so much in innovation, trying things in new ways. And often, why I think Colby, it was such an important piece of this is that we see in a lot of leaders, some people think, oh, I have to be everything, especially in smaller business, right? Usually you have a sole founder or somebody, and they just think they have to do everything. And the truth is, and we know this from Colby, like nobody does all of it well. And so actually the diversity is what really creates the fuel for you to be able to really rise quickly, because you have this coming from different sources. And I think that is back to the conflict. It's not like interpersonal conflicts, it's like conflict in how you do things. So Natalie might come in and say, hey, we should try this. And Melissa, you're going, well, wait a minute, like, how'd you come up with that? What's the information there? Where'd you arrive at that? What are the details, right? And these are the reason I want to talk about that is there's such common patterns. People bounce all the time. I see it in teams everywhere that people bounce between all of these different talents, but then that's what creates a bit of friction, is because of the different ways that we approach the problem solving process. Natalie, was there anything there that kind of strikes you, or about what we're talking
Yeah.
about your experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's spot on. Like it's so much of the work that I really appreciated doing with you over the last year was kind of just realizing some of these things that are natural instincts or natural tendencies, and being able to talk through like how to use that, or how those things are superpowers, or how, when something feels crunchy or like not fun for me, that
Yeah.
may be an instinct, or a way of working that that's not the right fit for me. And it's not to say that you shouldn't push yourself and be uncomfortable sometimes and all of that, but being able to recognize that some of those things, I may never enjoy doing because they're not the way that I work, but oh, Melissa actually thinks that's fun, and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
I think it's nice. It's like working smarter, not harder, right? Like
Yeah.
we don't have to be able to do everything. We
No.
just need to be able to do what we do well
Yeah.
and, lean on other people. So I've really appreciated that and having that space to kind of talk through some of those things. And, I think something you said early on in our coaching sessions was that, we needed to be open and honest with these things with each other because we are in a relationship,
Yes.
like this is a
Yeah.
partnership. It's
Yeah.
one of the most important relationships in our lives right now. And so we need to be able to have these difficult conversations. And I think that's helped us a lot to go from Well, you mentioned this idea of we were going to have parallel businesses where Melissa was running research project management, I was running communications, and we'd say hi, but we'd go and do our own things. Like now we're fully integrated. We've figured out ways that our skill sets work together, and I think that's making the company 1,000 times more powerful.
Yeah. I mean, I see that. And again, I really wanted to credit both of you because you stepped into it with a lot of courage and a lot of just vulnerability to be like, yeah, okay, yeah, let's be honest about this. Let's be honest where the sticking points are. Let's confront what might be not working as well as it could be because you were both so committed. You were so committed to the vision and to what you were wanting to create, which kind of leads me to wanting to ask you about sort of your co-CEO role as it's evolving. Like, what are the core values for Pisces and that maybe as women leaders that are really important to you that have evolved through this process of your commitment to it and also in terms of how you're working as co-CEOs?
One of the things we haven't changed much is our purpose and our values that kind of drive us, which is amazing. You're on the right track. But one of the things that comes to mind for me and one of our big values is thought leadership, right? And ocean impact. So these two things, like they tie together for us so well. And another big realization from this last year in coaching with you was that being co-CEOs is not common, and being women, like two women leading a business, is not that common, and that does give us this different thought leadership perspective, right? Like from your sort of traditional business model where one person runs a whole company, to us where we're working together, we're collaborative, which is another one of our values. Like, how do we collaborate? How do we be thought leaders? How do we do things differently? And how do we do it in service of the ocean? And I think that's what gets us through sort of the crunchy, difficult days and moments too, is going back to those things and being like, no, we're doing something that really matters. We're doing it together and in a way that aligns with what we both believe. And yeah, I just feel like it's a great North Star that we're following.
So that your commitment to the purpose is like kind of what pulled you through and helped you to find it's almost your own pathway to this, as you said, it's not that common. Melissa,
Yeah.
what do you say about that? I'm curious about your thoughts about the evolving co-CEO role and how it fits with your values and also as women leaders.
Yeah, I mean, I think it reflects, like Natalie said, it reflects our values as individuals and as Pisces. And I think it's also, we as Pisces, one of our core values, mantras is partnership. And so I think it just naturally fits because that's what we're doing here. We are partners and we are on this journey together.
So I think it's so interesting because I know in a lot of work in business, there's the idea like, oh, you can't have two-headed management, and how does that work, and who makes final decisions when there's friction. But what I also love about your story is that you came in with really flagging the minefield, if you will, around where like that's some of the work we did through understanding your instinct profiles and also your different talents. Like how do those things line up and where is the potential conflict? And then we did a lot of work around your roles, role clarity, values, like so that it anchored all that. And to me, it formed a really good foundation and scaffolding for what you were building. And so I think a lot of people are like, oh, you can't possibly have two co-leads, but I feel very much that it's living the values that you're really doing here. And one of those core values, as you said, is around collaboration and how you're sharing it. And I think there's a lot that you're contributing to our understanding of what it means to be women leaders that's different. That's as you said, it's unique in a certain way. And so are any thoughts about that, about sort of how it's different, like as you began to realize, hey, not everybody's kind of leading stuff this way. Any thoughts about that, about what makes it different and why it's important for women to open to like break the mold, I guess is what I want to say, break the templates of how to lead so that we can have impact, but we can also run our companies in ways that are different. What do you think, Natalie? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I like this question because I mean, before I worked at Pisces and before I ran a creative studio, I studied archaeology and anthropology. So I kind of always love
Okay.
these questions where I sort of feel like there's an underpinning in human sort of behavior. But like, I think we have different superpowers as women than men do. Not better, not worse, just different, right?
Mhm.
And the typical traditional business model to me feels really built by men for men,
Mhm.
and that's fine. But I think the world needs something different.
Mm.
And the way that women sort of just traditionally like back way back, right,
Yeah,
women
yeah.
are that we're multitaskers, we're part of villages, we raise kids, we do all these things, we're empathetic, we have more outward feelings, right? Like some of that's cultural and some of that's biological, but I think we just do things differently, and like business as usual is just not really working, right? Like it's
Mhm.
kind of
Yeah.
taking us down a dark path. And I think the opportunity that we have is to say, okay, we're done with business as usual. Now this is business for today, and it's
Yeah.
business for, a
Mhm.
modern world and
Yeah.
a future we want to create. And I think there's a role for men in business and there's a role for women in business. And I just love that we are able to step into this co-CEO role and be
Yeah.
like, yeah, we can do this because we have the instincts of women and the superpowers of women, you
Yeah.
know but all this business savvy and acumen at the same time. Like I have to
Yeah.
say, there's been a couple of times this last year that people have been like, I don't understand the co-CEO title. And every time it's been men, right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing, and it's fine.
I'm
But
not
every
shocked at
time,
that.
yeah. But every time I'm like, well, it doesn't matter if you don't understand. It works for us. It's
Yeah.
being collaborative. It's neither of us being like, yes, we need the gold star, the ultimate trophy, but we're happy that we are able to do it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Melissa, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason why people struggle with the idea of the co-CEO model is because the traditional business model is so hierarchical. And so everyone, is rising or chasing to go to the top. So how could there be two people at the top?
Yeah.
It's like if you think about the Olympics, there's not two
Yeah.
gold medalists, but
Yeah.
I mean,
They get the exact time, I guess they do, but
yeah,
they've split a couple of those medals, but people have been really confused.
Yeah.
but I think when your mission and your goal is impact driven, it's less about chasing the top, less about chasing the hierarchy, and it's more about chasing our impact. And we can have a lot more impact together than if we did it separately.
I feel that coming into communication, Natalie. I'm feeling
It's a
that.
nice quote.
I'm feeling the vibe on chasing impact. What a
Yeah.
beautiful way to say that, Melissa. I feel that very deeply. I think that's exactly it. If we're chasing the impact, I mean, what do we know about the greatest leaders? They say, that it's always about what everyone else is achieving, right? They don't need that glory. They don't need it to be in that structure. And actually, we know that in leadership. What's that proverb? The greatest leaders are the ones where the people say we did it ourselves. It's already going to that by design. Like what you did is you went into that by design. I will say, and we have to get to this because this was actually kind of the impetus for the whole podcast, is that leads me into sort of how quickly you scaled things up into recognition and impact and growth and success in Pisces, because we had only worked together for, I don't know, what was it, 6 months? And you were the winners or one of the winners of the 2025 BMO Celebrating Women Grant program. So you were recognized already for what Pisces is trying to do. Tell us a little bit about that and what that meant to you. Also, so soon in your journey of both taking on the co-CEO roles. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it was really a reflection of all the hard work and difficult conversations we had about what is Pisces. I mean, we inherited Pisces when we took over the company. And before we inherited Pisces, we were going along this journey of what is Pisces and what are we going to do? And we were trying to do a lot of things. And so when we took over Pisces, it was like, okay, now what? What are we actually doing here? And it sounds so simple, but when you're so close to it and now it was our business, it takes a lot of like refining and processing and conversations about what is it that we do. And I think all that work that we did those first 6 months after we took over Pisces is just continues to to pay off, and through things like being recognized by BMO or the Canadian Choice Awards or all the opportunities that we have. It's just a reflection of the time that we took to refine what Pisces is and what it means to us.
That was impressive because, like you said, most business owners, you start off and they're just like, where do we make sales? What do we do? And you're just trying to make sales and deliver, make sales, deliver, make sales, deliver. That's kind of the whole focus. But you guys took the time to actually create the blueprint. And by creating the blueprint, to me, what I saw, and that was what was so ingenious about what you did. And I hope other women business leaders listening to this think of that, because the amount of difficulty, challenges, heartache, setbacks that saved you by setting the blueprint allowed you to kind of ramp up and be there so much more quickly. You know, and I thought that was really very forward thinking of both of you to take the time to do that. Yeah. Natalie, what do you say to that about the BMO grant that you won and sort of how you're being recognized and how you see that journey?
Yeah, I mean, that one was, I think, mind blowing to both of us just because, yeah, it happened so quickly. And I don't know if you remember, Penny, but one of the things in our blueprint for last year was to win an award,
Yeah.
right? You know, you kind of feel like you manifest these things. And I know
Yep.
it's not subconscious, like you're consciously working towards
Yeah.
these things, or it's a bit of subconscious. But, you know, when you put down on paper, these are the things we want to achieve, you're more likely to make it happen.
Yeah,
Um,
for
and
sure.
yeah, that's what happened with BMO, which was kind of surprising. I mean, it really showed us both, I think, that we're on the right path. But
Yeah, to
it's
be
funny because,
recognized so quickly, like
yeah,
that was astonishing, really. I mean,
yeah,
but again, I think it was, like I said, it was a testament to how developed you already were. Like you had done so much development that even though, you know, I understand that Pisces has been around, but it was really when you two took it over, it became like a different company.
yeah,
And so it wasn't that old, so to speak, like, you know, in linear time, but it was so developed and it was just at a different level of sophistication because of the work that you had put in to be so thoughtful at inception of that.
yeah, absolutely. And like Melissa alluded to, we also just won a Canadian Choice Award for
Yeah, I didn't
consultancy
even know
stuff
that.
as well. Yeah.
Amazing.
So it just feels like, you know, it's not about the awards, but it just feels like it's confirmation that we're doing the right things and we're going in the right direction. And people are seeing that and going, yes, like this impact driven women led business is what the world needs.
Yes. Woohoo. Amen to that. That's awesome. So I'm curious as we dive into like a little bit more about the coaching, what do you think were some of the specific leadership capabilities or mindset shift that had the biggest impact on your business results, would you say?
100% that recognition that we're different and that's okay, and that clarity around roles,
Yeah.
right? I think that's made a huge difference. Like we just did our strategic planning for this year last week and got even deeper into those roles, and like it instantly makes a difference, you know, when you can say, this
Mhm.
is what I'm responsible for, these are my big rocks, that's what Melissa's responsible for, and trust each other to have those things. Yeah, that's been huge for us, I think, is just that real clarity on
Yeah.
who we are as leaders
Yeah.
together.
Yeah. There's so much going on that the clarity, clarity, clarity. And I saw that how you used each of the sessions to go deeper into clarifying and getting that clarity. And then you didn't have to go back, you know, you didn't have any downtime being in the fog of it, you know? Melissa,
Yeah.
what do you, you're gonna say something there?
Yeah, I think the biggest shift was moving from doing to leading. And so it's
Mm.
really trusting our team to do the doing so
Yeah.
that we can work on the business and leading the business. And
Yeah.
um yeah, that's been a really revolutionary shift, I think. As Natalie said earlier, we're both go-getters and we both have this instinct to just say, oh, I'll just do that. And now we're really making a conscious effort to say, no, that's
Yeah.
it's not leading, that's doing.
You know, again, I'm going to say how much you two impress me because working with leaders for 20 years plus, people know that they need to do that, but they don't make the shift because it's very hard for them to let go of the control. And it was like every session that we came to and you had that realization, it was just like you both had such a growth mindset and you took it so darn seriously that you're like, yeah, okay, I gotta give that up. Like you just took it on, you know? And so it kind of made my job easy in a way because it wasn't like 2 years of like, yeah, I know. What'd you do this week? Okay, well, you really should let that go, which is often how the coaching process is because people are just in their nervous systems, they can't let go of things, or it's just their sense of control and anxiety. And so you both really stepped into like, yeah, yeah, okay, that's where we need to, like, there was a clarity and a willingness to do what it takes. For anyone who's listening to this and curious about what Pisces does, it's like, put your money behind this company because that attitude pervades everything that you do. It's like, yeah, okay, we're going to do what needs to be done to make this work without a lot of the trying to skirt around it or maintain things the way they are. And I think that's a huge, honestly, in business, massive strength. It's a massive differentiator. Just because it's a massive differentiator in who you are as people, because I can tell you in all my work, that's a rare quality. So I know that that's a big factor also in your success and in your future success for sure. Was there a moment that you could describe where you went, hey, whoa, I'm really leading differently, or this is very different? Can you think of an example from doing the work? You were like, oh, wow, I'm looking at this really differently, whether it was going from overwhelmed to less overwhelmed. What do you think, Natalie? Was there something you can think of there?
Yeah, I mean, this happened to me earlier today, so I'll just use the most recent
Yeah,
example,
sure.
but because it's easy to come to mind. But yeah, we after the work we did last week on roles, getting really even deeper into that and really just laying out like these are the things we need to be doing. This week has been amazing, like amazing how fast clarity kind of makes changes. But we had a kickoff meeting with a client this morning, and it's not my project. It belongs to somebody else on our team, two other people on our team. And I went to this kickoff meeting and like I fought all of my instincts to run the meeting, to step in, to ask the questions, to like text the team behind the scenes and be like, don't forget to ask this question. And I was telling Melissa during the meeting, I was like, hey, I'm fighting this. Like, this is feeling hard for me, but I trusted them and they asked all the right questions. They did everything. Like the meeting was perfect. And I feel like that was a huge moment just in
Yeah.
kind of role clarity and saying like, okay, we're putting trust in the team. We're leading differently, saying, nope, you guys got this and giving them the space to do that, but also the confidence for us to know that they'll do it the way it needs to be done. Right. So I left that meeting being like, yes, yes, celebrating them for doing it well.
No
And also
kidding.
me for being able to let go a little bit because it is
Yeah,
tough.
of
It does
course.
feel uncomfortable. Right. But
Yeah. That's an incredible story. It's like such a pragmatic one of something that happened, directly. And
yeah.
so to me, it's like there's something about that that liberates your attention in a new way. So I'm curious about the impact of that. Like when you're able to step back, how does that impact where you can put your focus as a co-CEO?
I feel like it's allowing me even today, like, because it's such a fresh experience, even today to say, you know, cool, I don't have to think about the doing of that now. I can
Yeah.
step back to this list of rocks and roles and capabilities that I have in my role as
Hmm.
CEO and work on those things and feel like I'm doing what I should be doing and other
Yeah.
people are doing the
Yeah.
other things. If
Yeah.
we're all trying to do the same thing, we're all
Yeah.
butting heads and nobody's sure who's in charge and it's hard to grow like that. But when it's really clear that, you know,
Yeah.
okay, Natalie's going to focus on this part of growing the company now, it
Yeah.
feels good,
There you go.
right?
So
Yeah.
it's like you have more bandwidth to be in the
Yeah.
strategic and kind of
Right.
map view in a way that's really, really important for the growth of the company. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the impact of the company. Amazing. Melissa, do you have an example?
Not necessarily an example, but I think because our journey was so unconventional, we went from employees to CEOs overnight. I think the last year we've done a lot of work and a lot of work with you, Penny. And I feel like what Natalie was saying is this week, it really feels like, okay, not just this week, but I would say the last like couple months, you know, now we're sitting at the adults table. We're not at the kids table anymore.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah.
even at conferences now, our circle is different. The people we attract is different. The how we communicate, how we work is different. We're moving as leaders now, not employees. And I
Yeah.
think that shift has been really immense.
Wow. And I wonder, how is that preparing you for bigger opportunities, whether it be the grant or partnerships or how you're scaling? Just that mindset shift of thinking bigger, future leaders, what we're doing. What's coming with that? What's that providing for you with in terms of other opportunities?
Yeah, I think we're thinking bigger. We're thinking like CEOs. We're thinking like leaders. We're,
Yeah.
you know, as Natalie said, manifesting our 5 to 10 years, what Pisces is going to be. And
Yeah.
when you say it, you're putting it out there and then you start
Yeah.
working towards it. And I think when last year, when we sat down to do our goals, we were so conservative.
Mm.
And this year we were like, wow, what does 10 years look like? What does 5 years look like? What does next year look like? And it felt really, really good to think big.
Yeah. So you've got some big audacious goals coming up. That's amazing. Natalie, what do you think? What are some of the bigger opportunities that are sort of on the horizon here as you step into thinking bigger?
Yeah, it's for me, it's all about surrounding ourselves now with people who are going to push us forward,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? And other CEOs or, working with coaches like you who push us and aren't afraid to say like, it's a little small, get a little bit bigger, take a little bit of a risk. And, from the people we hire to the consultants that we work with to the people who are going to support us with business growth and all of that, like just saying like if we want to be the company we envision in 5 years, we need to act today like we're that company
Mm.
and
Yeah.
embody that.
Start to do that.
Because yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, if we act like whatever the size we are today, it's maybe not that big. So will we ever get bigger? I don't
Yeah.
know, but you
Mhm.
know let's embody who we want to be, and that seems to be really helping us.
So amazing. So in that future state, I'm wondering, like, I'm thinking ahead into the future, like, what do you envision for the Pisces impact? Like, there's growing Pisces, but what other kinds of impact are you setting your sights on?
Yeah, so for our impact, like this all comes back to the ocean. We have
Yeah.
these dreams to start an ocean impact fund and help some of the projects around the world that don't have the resources to access support services like ours.
Mm.
We are very well ingrained right now in Atlantic Canada and a little bit in the rest of Canada, but the ocean is global and ocean challenges are global. They're borderless. So we
Mhm.
want to be able to be there to support more of these big projects. Like we're in the second half now of the UN Ocean Decade, and not enough has changed. These are big issues that people are tackling. And when you've got these frontline people, hands in the water, doing work trying to save the ocean, they need the back end support, right, to really drive their impact forward. So as we move forward, we want to keep having this background impact and amplify that, become ocean leaders in our own right because we're doing something so important and so different. But we also want to be amplifiers of other people's ocean impact. So strengthen their projects so that the work they're doing on the front lines, of this fight for the ocean is stronger, better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very inspiring. Yeah, that's amazing. And it makes me feel really excited and hopeful that you're coming at it leading in a different way. It's part of that different paradigm. Like, as you said, we're 10 years into it and we're not there yet. And how much progress have we really made? And so maybe we need different models of how to collaborate on this, different ways of advancing all of this work. And so it's very inspiring and hopeful that you two are kind of carving out your own contribution to that, to an innovative and different way to have that impact that doesn't just fit the way it's been done before. That's what we need. We need some of these new bold approaches that maybe aren't so maybe bold is the wrong word. It's more like what you're talking about, collaborative, integrative. It kind of comes back to relationality and mutual kind of support and how we're working together and how we're developing the connections because none of these things that are really big, complex problems, as we talk about in leadership work, none of these complex problems can be solved with the one, whatever, all-star. Like that's not how it's done, you know? And so your ability to forge those collaborative networks is really also really important. So I love to hear about that vision. That's great. So let's end off with, what's a piece of leadership advice that you would give to other women entrepreneurs who are in the early stages of building their business? What would you, sitting where you are now with having such, kind of very rapid, straight line up success so early on, what would you tell them that is really important for them to think about? Go ahead, Melissa.
I to lean on your network. And so, surround yourself with people who want to see you succeed. And just understanding that we're not all good at everything. That's just not how life works. And so figuring out what fills your cup versus what drains your cup, I think is really important. And so if finances is not your thing, then find an expert who can help you do that. Or find a leadership coach like Penny, who's there to support you. But it's all about surrounding yourself with the people who will hold you accountable and help you grow, because it's easy just to let things slip, especially when it comes to accountability. And if you're, a founder or a leader, and no one's, holding you accountable, it can be hard.
Yeah, it's true. It's like our brains are sort of designed to be to kind of confirm, okay, I'm doing the right thing, and we don't see our own blind spots. I think that's the role of coaching and mentors and a network, because other people will say, hey, wait a minute, over here, maybe there's that. Yeah, so that's great. Thanks, Melissa. How about you, Natalie? What advice would you have?
Well, similar to what Melissa is saying, I think it's so important that you understand who you are. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs are visionaries or have a visionary tendency. But whether you're a visionary or an implementer, I would say find your other half. That's so important. Like we talked about in the last question, I think the single most important thing is this manifestation of where you want to be. Like set your sights on something big and uncomfortable, and that you're like, oh, we can't do that. And then do it.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. So great. I love that. So thank you so much for this inspiring conversation. It was great to sort of have the arc of the story of Pisces and the two of you. I just can't wait to see what the next year, 2, 3 years is going to bring, because you can feel everything's kind of lined up and ticking in the right direction. And so I think it's going to be wonderful to watch what you're able to achieve and the kind of impact that you'll have. So I really appreciate that. I really appreciate being able to speak with you today and hear more about the journey and the lessons learned. And if anyone wants to get in touch with you who wants to have ocean impact, what's the best way for them to do that?
Probably through our website or our emails or our LinkedIn, which should be hopefully in the notes of this video. So you can find us anywhere. If you search Pisces Oceans, we come up.
Good. So if you want to amplify that ocean impact, these are the women who are going to take you there and help you really do that and let you be good at what you're good at. Yeah, I think that's really important. And then if you're interested in elevating your business or having this kind of blueprint for success, I'd love to hear from you. You can find me again in the notes below. It's www.instinctsatwork.com. And I would love to help other women leaders who are breaking the mold and having this kind of impact in the world. It's a great pleasure and a privilege. Thank you, Melissa and Natalie.
Thank you.
Thank you.